Vishnupada Sata Shri Shila Desi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupada Sata Shri Shila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupada Sata Shri Shila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunatha Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Suttamadar Ramanandari Gaur Parshada Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Govardhan Dvadasha Ganatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dham Ki Jai Shri Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Jiv Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Radha Damodar Jiv Ki Jai Jai Shrimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Ashta Sati Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Adi Sati Vrinda Ki Jai Shrimati Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Devi Ki Jai Shri Gopishwar Mahadeva Ki Jai Sarva Vishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhan Maharaj Ki Jai Grantraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Shri Nishinga Deva Ki Jai Bhakta Prabhu Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charo Dham Charo Sampradaya Charo Charya Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Tribhuvana Pavana Harinam Sankirtana Ki Jai Samvir Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Actually, Jashamati Nandan. You can sing Jashamati Nandan in the song.
Why?
Jashamati Nandana Brajavaranagara Gokula Ranjana Khana Jashamati Nandana Brajavaranagara Gokula Ranjana Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Chandra Shri Krishna ki Jai Vrishabhananandini Shrimati Radharani ki Jai Jai Shri Radhe all together Jai Jai Shri Radhe Jai Jai Shri Radhe Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. That's Vrindavan Kirtan style. They always say at the end of every gathering like that. In Mathura, when Srila Gurudev would lecture there, everyone very enthusiastically would be saying at the end of the lecture, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. And then one old man, he's left his body now, I heard. One old man, it was always his service at the end of that, to say in a very high-pitched voice, Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki! Then everyone would, Jai! Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki! That's what he would say at the end. So this is the mood, because Krishna is Vrindavan Bihari Lal. Why Lal? Because he's the son. He's a very young prince of the king of Braj. Therefore he's called Brajendra Nandan and Brajaraj Sutta and so many other names, Nanda Nandan, pertaining to his relationship with his father and his mother, Yashoda Devi. Yashomati Nanda, Nandana. This song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yashomati Nandana. Brajabara Nagara. Nagara means what? Means hero. Like in any drama, in a romantic drama, you have a hero and a heroine, yes? So Nagara means the hero, the lover. And Nagari means the beloved. It is the feminine heroine, the heroine. So Krishna is called Braja Bara Nagara. That means that there isn't any other hero as great as he in all of Braj. Because Bara means great. Braja Bara Nagara. Greatest hero and lover in Braj. No one can compete with Krishna in this department. Do you know that? No one can compete with Krishna in the entire creation. Not any expansion of Krishna, not any other living being can compare with Krishna in this department of loving exchanges in Madhurya Rasa. He is the Rasaraj. He is the king. He is the emperor of all Ras. And how did he demonstrate that? By his inconceivable manifestation of Ras Leela. That is why Srimad Bhagavatam is the pinnacle of all Shastras, because there it is properly depicted. After 9 cantos of describing clearly who is this person, then 10th canto begins to explain his birth, his appearance, and then gradually rising to his pastimes with the Brajagopis. So, in that realm of Madhurya Leela, Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest praman, evidence, to prove that no one can compare with Sri Krishna in this regard. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Srimad Bhagavatam pramanamamalam. But there is no other praman. This is the spotless praman. Pramanamamalam. So, Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana, and he gives so much happiness. Gokula Ranjana. Ranjana means giving so much joy and happiness, always overflooding all of Gokul, all of the residents of Gokul. They're swimming in pools of ecstasy, as it says in Damodar Ashtakam. Pools of ecstasy, always. So therefore, Gokula Ranjana. And his name, that everyone knows him. He has nicknames also. And his nickname is Kana. Kana. Krishna. Kana. Just because he's a person. And persons have nicknames given to them by those who love them. Isn't it? Always, everybody. If you have a very intimate, loving relationship with someone that is not devoid of, but very small amount of reverence and awe for them, and the intimacy and friendship becomes deeper and deeper, so then you begin to call by nicknames. Like any parent will have nicknames for their child, isn't it? Instead of Shyam Sundar, you say Shyami. Shyami. So Krishna also has his nickname, Kana. Krishna, Kana. Gokula Ranjana Kana. Gopi Parana Dhana. The very wealth, the dhana of the life, the pran of the gopis. He is the wealth of their life. Their very pran, their very life heirs. He is that. Gopi Parana Dhana. And Krishna very much likes to be referred to by his relationship to his most intimate beloved gopis. He likes that very much. So you attract his attention when you refer to him in relation to the gopis. Srila Gurudev told once in this pranam mantra that we say every day, Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu. This is calling out to Krishna. Calling out. because it's in the vocative case. Once when I was chanting this pranam mantra in front of Gurudev, then he interrupted me. He says, not Sindhu, not Karuna Sindhu, Sindho, Sindho, Dina Bandho. Because in the grammatical form, this is vocative, calling out. Like Hare Krishna. Guess what? This is in the vocative case. Hare Krishna, Hare. It's in the vocative case. That means we're calling out. You see? So, Karuna, Hey Krishna, Oh Krishna, Oh Krishna, Karuna Sindho. You are ocean of mercy. You are ocean of Karunya. So much mercy, ever expanding ocean. So Krishna, he becomes a little bit, this is how Gurudev was explaining, he becomes a little bit attentive. Oh, there, my Jivatma is calling for me. Karuna Sindhu. Oh Krishna, hey Krishna, Dina Bandho. Oh Krishna, you are the friend of the fallen in this material universe. Dina Bandho. Who else can be such a friend? Is there anyone else that can be such a friend as you? You declare in the Bhagavad Gita that you are the Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. You are the well-wishing friend, Suhrit. Suhrit is the topmost type of friend. There are different types of friends, but you are the well-wishing friend of every jiva. Sarvabhutanam, Krishna directly says. So the devotee is calling out, Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindho, Dina Bandho. Oh, I'm the fallen, I'm the Dina. I need your friendship. Oh Krishna, you are known as the friend of the fallen. So Krishna hears a little bit more. Oh Krishna, Jagatpate, Jagatpate. What does that mean?
Lord.
That means the Pati of the whole universe. Pati means the Lord, the Master. Jagatpati. So, in vocative, Jagatpate. Oh Krishna, Jagatpate. You are the Master, you are the Lord of the whole universe, and I'm just one of the tiny little jivas in this universe. Completely drowning in the ocean of birth and death, material existence. Jagatpate. So I have relationship with you. Because you're the Father of all living beings. So I'm calling out to you. So Krishna hears. His attention is drawn somewhat. But now, the devotee says, Oh Krishna, you are Gopesha. Oh, now Krishna begins to listen a little bit more because these are his own people. These are his intimate Gopas. Gopesha. Means what? All the cowherd people, the Gopas, Krishna's community, Krishna's family, his transcendental, eternal, Nitya Siddha Parikar. Gopesha. You are the Isha, you are the master of all of the Gopas. Gopa community, cowherd community. So Krishna now he hears more attentively. Then, oh, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta. Oh, now Krishna really sits up. Gopika Kanta. Oh, you are the lover. You are the Kanta of the gopis. Oh, Krishna's attention is very much drawn now. Gopika Kanta. Oh, you see, you can attract Krishna because Krishna is a person. And, you know, in this material world we see, if somebody has a child and you show some affection to that child, how much happy the parents become, right?
Even
Become
like Prabhupada said, the dog.
That's right, even for a dog. Yeah. And then Prabhupada would say, if you love me, love my dog. You see? So it's natural for those who are near to you, and if you show affection, someone shows affection to them, then that person immediately, your heart opens for that person. So Krishna's saying, Gopika Kanta. Well, Krishna loves the gopis so much. He's always thinking about them, and they're always thinking about him. So now, you've captured his attention. But finally, Radha Kanta Namostute. Oh, now Krishna has completely. Radha Kanta. Oh, you are the beloved of Srimati Radhika. I need your mercy. Oh, Radha Kanta, please give me your mercy. Please save me from this endless ocean of forgetfulness of you. So such a prayer is in gradation and attracting Krishna more and more. So that is why in Chaitanya Charitamrita there's a whole section where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining that Krishna actually, he cannot be so much pleased by Vaidhi Bhakti. Krishna himself is telling that in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, whole universe, whole world, they're all worshipping me with awe and reverence. This does not attract me so much. But when someone refers to me that I'm the son of Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda completely controls me and twists my ear, chastising me, oh, I immediately become attracted, you see. So this topic, this topic of how to attain the actual ultimate goal. What is that ultimate goal? How to attain it? This is a very vast topic. And Chaitanya Charitamrita has delivered the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he brought. Everything is there, the whole process and formula. How to attain this relationship with Krishna. In Braj. Only in Braj. So we'll read today something interesting about this pathway of what is called Rag Anuga or Rag Marg Bhakti. That if someone is practicing that, but they have still some mood of Vaidhi Bhakti. They're practicing Vaidhi Bhakti, but they're trying to enter into Rag Anug. And they advance, but they're attached to Vaidhi Bhakti. Right? Then what will they attain? They cannot attain Braj. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining directly that they can attain Dwarka, and they can become a servant of the queens of Dwarka. Yes, directly told, in the Sanskrit also. So this is why it is essential to hear from one who is completely conversant with this topic, like our beloved Gurudev, like all of our Rupanuga Acharyas. They've made it very clear that we have to go in that direction. Because if we don't, then it will delay our progress until we have achieved, until that greed arises within our heart, that I want to love Krishna, I want to serve Krishna as his Brijbasis serve him. When that attraction comes, then that lobha, that greed, makes it possible to enter into Rag Marg Bhakti. Otherwise, it is not possible any other way. Door is closed. So we'll discuss that. But that beautiful song, Jashamati Nandana Braja Baranagara, it's a very sweet song, all about Krishna in Braj. Gopi Paranadana, Madana Manohar. Krishna is Madan Manohar. all Cupids. You know who Cupid is? Yes. All conditioned souls know, because everybody in the material world feels this lust, attraction to the opposite sex. That's the potency of the mundane Cupid of this world. So they're very powerful. The whole world is operating because of that. But Krishna is called Madan Mohan. He is so beautiful that those Cupids, and not one or two, millions, Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham in Brahma Samhita. Koti means 10 million. 10 million of these Kandarpas, Cupids, they spontaneously become attracted to his beauty. He overpowers all other beauty. That is the supreme power. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj nicely always explains. In this material world, opulence, Aishwarya, okay, strength, power, that is taking the highest position in the material world. Okay? Power, strength, virya. That holds the highest position in the material world. We can see that in international affairs and politics and all of that. So always power predominates in the material world, but in the spiritual world, beauty. Beauty reigns supreme. It is the most powerful force, is beauty. Therefore, Krishna, he is called Akil Rasamrita Murti. He is the very form of all rasa. And no one can compare to him in beauty, in sweetness, in his exquisite form, his rupa, rupa madhuri. Everything is sweet about Krishna. When we just get one little tiny inkling of that in our Hari Bhajan, in our chanting of Hari Nam, it will overwhelm our heart. This is what we're here for, because of Krishna's beauty. But Krishna's beauty is also surpassed by one person. Krishna is Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan. But there's another person that is called Madan Mohan Mohini. Mohini means the attractress, the enchantress. Mohini. So there's only one supreme Mohini, and she is called Madan Mohan Mohini. And that is none other than Krishna's own Swarup Shakti potency, Srimati Radharani. And her beauty even excels Krishna's. Because Krishna becomes even attracted to his own self, because he's so beautiful. But Srimati Radhika attracts Krishna. And not only attracts him, but overpowers him fully. In the Rasa Shastras, there are so many analogies, poetical analogies. And Krishna is very often referred to as a mad elephant. Right? Mad elephant. And why? Because a mad elephant is very powerful as it moves along, right? But Srimati Radhika, on her lotus feet, she has different symbols. And one of those symbols is an elephant goad that is used by the elephant controller. And she controls that mad elephant fully, eternally. Subdues him, overpowers him, and completely keeps him subordinate. And that is what Krishna loves the most. That's why our Gurudev liked to speak this topic, Controlled by Love. There's a little booklet taken from his lecture, Controlled by Love. No one likes to be controlled by force. And in the material world, this is what we always have to undergo, isn't it? And it's unpleasant. No one likes to take that subordinate position, especially when the controller is cruel or exploitive. But you have no choice in the material world. You have to submit. So this is controlled by force, right? Just like we were talking about, that there has to be some fear, in the beginning stages of Vaidhi Bhakti, there is some element of fear. So that's built into the material world. But in the transcendental world, that fear diminishes to the point where there is no fear at all. There is actually a sense of being greater than Krishna. That I'm greater than him. And that's the nature of Braj. We have to understand this. Special feature of Braj. Nowhere else do you find this. Not in Vaikuntha, nowhere else.
You find it here. Everybody thinks they're greater than God here.
In illusion of Maya? Yeah. But it doesn't last very long, does it? Yeah. But there it lasts eternally. There, the friends of Krishna, they're very equal. They feel themselves equal. Otherwise they can't be friends and they can't exchange the mood of sakyaras, friendship, sakyaras. So the nature of that is that you feel equal. Just like if you have a really close buddy, really close friend, pal, that you know from your childhood, and you feel very equal. And you play with one another. You can also fight. You can wrestle with one another and stuff, right? And your friendship is not harmed at all. Even if it gets really rough. That's what Krishna does. Krishna plays very rough with his friends, and they play very rough with him. They're jumping and playing and going through the forest, and then they match each other up, and they have wrestling matches every day, And Krishna, sometimes he's challenged by a cowherd boy. Okay, Krishna. You think you're a very big man? Okay, now fight with me. I'll show you who's big. Like this. So they fight. And there's this beautiful story how Sridham, one of Krishna's most intimate cowherd friends, was fighting with Krishna, wrestling. And you have to pin them down, just like here. Why do we have that rules here? Because they have the rules in Goloka Vrindavan. The wrestling rules came from there. It's a fact. You have to pin the person's shoulders down. It came from there. And so when they wrestle, then Sridham is fighting very valiantly with Krishna. And he actually overpowers Krishna and pins Krishna to the ground, and he's on top of his chest and he's holding him down. He said, "See, I have beaten you. I've proven." And Krishna says, "No, you haven't." He says, "What do you mean, I haven't? You're down. I pinned you down." And then Krishna says, "No, you haven't beaten me because your nose is down and my nose is up. So you haven't beaten me. My nose is facing up and your nose is facing down. So I'm the winner." Yeah. Outrageous, Krishna's audacity. You see? So it's so much fun. It's actually the land of fun. They tried to make a perverted reflection of this in this Peter Pan. I thought about that.
Disneyland?
Yeah, right. Never, never land. You're always young. You're just playing in the forest. And you have the person, the Pied Piper or whatever, Peter Pan. But it's just a perverted reflection of the supreme, mystical, transcendental Chintamani Dham. Chintamani Dham. Everything there is touchstone. Everything there is worshipable, fully conscious, full of bliss. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, it is called. Ananda Chinmoy Rasa. Everything there is exuding ras. And it is Chinmoy, fully conscious substance. Every particle. Chintamani, Prakara Sadamasu. It is made of that in the spiritual realm. So Krishna's Madana Manohar. He steals away the mind of Cupid. Madan Manohar. Gopiparanadana Madana Manohara. Kaliya Damana Vidhana. And his pastime of dancing on the hoods of the serpent, Kaliya. Very special pastime. Because the Kaliya had hundreds of hoods. But Krishna wanted to demonstrate at a young age that he's a very good dancer. Because the Braja Gopis, they were always developing their longing. It is called Purva Rag. Purva Rag means before they can actually meet, they have this rag, this growing attachment and attraction to Krishna. So Krishna wanted to give them the signal that very soon you and I will be dancing in the forests of Vrindavana. So he jumped up on the Kaliya serpent after demonstrating that he was being drowned in the waters of the Yamuna by being in the tentacles of Kaliya. And all the Brijbasis were fainting and dying on the land, and the whole water was poisonous because of Kaliya. But then Krishna saw that all the Brijbasis will die, so now he released himself and he jumped up on the hoods of the serpent Kaliya. And now he began to dance.
You know that verse, Maharaja?
Well, there's a song that they sing, pum pum pum, da 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 da, pum pum pum. You know, it's this Hindi. It's a Hindi song.
Surdas.
Huh?
By Surdas.
Surdas, yeah, yeah. So you know, in the heavenly planets, the musicians started to play and the drummers started to drum, so that Krishna would have musical accompaniment. And now he began to dance. And there were hundreds of hoods. And these hundreds of hoods all had poisonous fangs, right? So they were trying to bite Krishna. Can you imagine? You're balancing on the hood of a snake. And you're holding your flute. And you're jumping from one hood to another and kicking the hoods as you're jumping and jumping here and there. And the Kaliya is trying desperately to grab Krishna and to bite him. Couldn't touch Krishna. But Krishna's rhythmically dancing. Rhythmically. And as the demigods made the dancing quicker, 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 they speeded up the tempo. Krishna danced faster, 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 faster. And now the Kaliya was getting kicked and kicked and kicked. And he became so fatigued. And all of the poison began coming out like a waterfall. And the scene, it looked so glorious. Because it looked as if this waterfall was worshipping Krishna. Like it was his offering, flower offerings. So Kaliya gradually just became more and more tired, and finally Krishna finished his dance. And now Kaliya was completely subdued, and then he stood there on the hood of the Kaliya. And at that time Kaliya's wives came. They're called the Nagapatnis. And actually they were bhaktas. They were devotees. Strangely enough, it's a very amazing pastime. And they began to pray to Krishna. Oh, my dear Lord Krishna, please, please, our husband, please be merciful to him. And don't kill him, don't punish him. And we don't know. How is it possible that such a sinful creature could have your lotus feet touching his heads? This is astonishing. Why? Because even the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is praying for this. But yet here, this sinful creature has your lotus feet and the dust of your lotus feet touching his heads, your transcendental lotus feet, and you've completely purified him from all of his sins by kicking all of his hoods. So they worshipped Krishna, the Nagapatnis, they offered prayers to Krishna. And it is said in the one song that we sing, Jai Dvija Patni Jaya Naga Kanya Gan. Bhakti te jahara pailo, Govinda charan. It means there were two different categories of aspiring devotees who attained perfection in Krishna Lila because of Krishna's mercy. One category was Dvija Patnis, that's the wives of the Brahmins. There's a whole pastime, you can read it in the Krishna book. The wives of the Brahmins, they demonstrated and they fully surrendered to Krishna and they attained Govinda Charan, they attained his lotus feet. And the the Nagapatnis, Naga Kanyagan, the daughters of the snakes, Nagapatnis, these creatures, they can take human forms also. It's there in Mahabharata, the Naga from Nagaloka. So the Nagapatnis, but they were devotees, these Nagapatnis. So by offering prayers to Krishna, then Bhakti te jahara pailo, Govinda charan. Bhakti te jahara pailo means they attained pure bhakti to Krishna, and they attained Govinda charan, the lotus feet of Govinda. Bhakti te jahara pailo, Govinda charan. So then, Krishna gave benediction to Kaliya. That, now you should not stay here in my Braja Vrindavan anymore. You have to leave. But now that you have the decoration of the marks of my lotus feet on your head, so Garuda, he will not come anymore. Because there was a whole pastime where Garuda, actually Kaliya was hiding from Garuda in the waters of the Yamuna. So that Kaliya serpent is still living on the earth planet. And Srila Prabhupada confirmed also that the Kaliya serpent traveled through the ocean waters and went to the southern hemisphere in one island called Fiji. And in that island he is residing under the waters in his own secret place. And the people of that island know about him. They don't know exactly who he is. They don't know the history, but they know that there's such a creature. And it's been famed, around the world. And when I was there in Fiji with Gurudev, I asked somebody about Kaliya. And they told that one time there was a television crew coming from Europe or somewhere, and they wanted to film. They wanted to do a whole investigation, right? Like Loch Ness Monster, that type of thing, They wanted to do a whole big documentary. There's this fabled creature, sea creature. So they were asking permission from the Prime Minister of the country. And the Prime Minister of the country is actually Indian, at least at that time. Because it's like half the population is Indian there, and the other half is island people. So that Prime Minister, Kaliya came to him in the dream and said, don't give permission to them. No, no one should know. So then he had to tell them, can't give you the permission. So in this way, Kaliya is still on the earth planet. And there are other great personalities who are still hidden, not within the sight of the ordinary conditioned souls. They're still on the earth planet. Srila Vyasadeva is still there in the Himalayan mountains. And there are others also. So, then Krishna came to the shore, came back to the shore, and all the Brijvasis surrounded Krishna. And each one of them reciprocating with Krishna according to their relationship. Those who were junior to him, they were touching his lotus feet. Those who were friends, they were embracing him. Those who were senior to him, they were blessing him and smelling his head in affection. So in this way, Krishna, the center of all attraction of the Brijvasis, came out after a few hours. This went on like from the morning till the early evening time. This dancing of Krishna. So then the Brijvasis all decided, because everyone had come from the village. There were so many omens in the sky, and they all ran there. So all the Brijvasis were there, on the bank of the Yamuna. So then Nanda Maharaj and the senior cowherd men, they decided, now it is late. So we should not go back through the forest to Vrindavan. We should not go back. So then they decided we will all stay here tonight on the bank of the Yamuna. We will stay here. And now they made a formation of circles. And in the middle was Krishna, and Balaram, and Nanda Maharaj, and also Vrindavana Maharaj, Kirtida Sundari. They were there, Mother Yashoda. And then surrounding, in the inner circle, they allowed the young gopis to be there, because for protection. And then they had the cowherd men in circles, and then they have a warrior class also amongst the cowherd men, so they were on the outside of the circle to protect. So then everybody just slept there that night. And it was the first time that the young gopi girls were in the presence of Krishna at night, right? And his parents were also there, and they're very near to Krishna. So in the middle of the night, when everyone was sleeping, and Krishna sat up, and the gopis also sat up, and by their glances, they communicated quietly, because it was secret. And Krishna informed them, so now you see how I can dance? Very soon we will dance together in the forest, in the moonlit night of the forest. So this is the prelude. Krishna Lila, it grows in this way. The prelude to Krishna's ultimate Lila, pastime of Ras Lila. And that Ras Lila is the pinnacle of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it gives one entrance into Vrindavan Dham, when one's heart becomes melted by those pastimes. So all of our acharyas, especially our Rupanuga acharyas like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, their commentaries, their songs, their shlokas, they're full of all of this Braj Ras, very full of that. And they want that everyone will be imbued with this Braj Ras Bhav. Bhav means moods. So that is the purpose of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is like a window to the spiritual world that you can see now and become attracted. And the method to become attracted and fully develop your deep attachment to Krishna in Braj is all the pastimes, especially describing separation mood. Separation mood. Because that Vipralamba Bhav is the entryway for the Baddha Jivas, for the conditioned souls. When they want to come to Braj, separation mood, Vipralamba. Through that mood and appreciating how the Brijbasis were feeling, feeling oneness with their heart, their separation mood. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we have in our songbook Upadeshavali, like a necklace of his instructions, his quotations. Can you hand me that songbook? And there's one of those special instructions. He's telling about this point. What is our duty? What is our obligation? What is our actual occupational duty? Here it is, number 9. So the 9th one, there is 24 different instructions here. The 9th one says, serving the Brajbasis who felt great separation from Krishna when he left Braja to reside in Mathura, is our supreme occupational, constitutional occupation. Very deep thought. You have to try to fathom the mood that is being expressed here. It's a very simple statement, but this is an eternal truth. This is an eternal tattva. That our occupation, our supreme, constitutional occupation, eternally. This is not a part-time occupation. This is full-time, eternally. This is what our purpose is. To serve the Brijavasis, who were feeling great separation from Krishna when he left Braja to reside in Mathura. So that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. First Krishna Lila comes. So just amazing, beautiful description of Krishna's pastimes from his babyhood and his boyhood and into his youth. And then Braj Lila culminates in this incident where Akrura comes on the chariot of Kamsa. And he comes to bring Krishna to Mathura. Krishna's never left Vrindavan for his whole childhood and youth. And all the Brijvasis are living in this transcendental ocean of blissful exchanges with Krishna, and suddenly Krishna is going to depart. And the description there of their moods when Krishna was leaving, and especially the moods of the gopis. This is what our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, very clearly revealed to the whole world. Time and again. In so many different locations, he would relate these moods of Braj Vrindavan. He would narrate and bring the devotees into that mood of Krishna in Vrindavan by glorifying all the stories and upakyans, instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam, 9 cantos. But then he would culminate in this mood of Krishna leaving Vrindavan. So if we want to enter into the Rag Marg Bhakti, the spontaneous mood of loving devotion to Krishna in the mood of the Brijvasis, then our heart has to actually unite with the hearts of the Brijvasis in a particular rasa, particular mood of a particular Brijvasi. And then, in the separation mood that they are feeling, we also will sympathize with that. And internally, we will try to relieve their unlimited suffering and anxiety. And this is the purpose of the gopis, how they serve Srimati Radhika. That they are completely looking after all of her needs because she has no ability. Her position is so forlorn in agonizing separation from Krishna that all the Braja gopis are serving her. They're serving her day and night, day and night, day and night. And how long does this go on for? Inconceivable length of time. Decades. And Krishna doesn't return. But the whole story, there is no love story that can ever, 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 even faintly compare to the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna and their separation. So that has been narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam to give the Baddha Jivas a key to enter into Braj, the mood of Braj, the separation mood. But in Braj there's both, is separation and also meeting. And this goes on eternally. Meeting with Krishna, joyfully meeting. This is called sambhog, meeting. And this is compared to two banks of a river, that you have always two banks on a river. One side is meeting with Krishna, sambhog lila, and the other side is vipralamba, separation mood, being separated from Krishna. Both of these nourish one another eternally. So when Krishna appears in this world, he demonstrates this by exhibiting these supreme pastimes of sambhog ras, meeting with the gopis on the full moon night, dancing Ras Leela everywhere in Braj Mandala, again and again. And then suddenly, Krishna is torn away from the gopis. And that Leela, that separation mood, now, if those who are really desiring to enter into Braj, they will fully embrace that separation mood. They will feel that very deeply, and then they will sympathize with the Brijvasis, and they will serve them continually in their bhajan. So a very deep statement by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
I don't really understand how but a jeev, like Uddhava came and tried to pacify the residents, and he couldn't do anything, the residents of Vrindavan. So how can a Buddha Jeev thinks that he can help the gopis, pacifying them in the mood of separation? And how can we do that? How can we?
Because, like it says here, it is our function, first of all. It is our function. It is our eternal occupational, how does he state that? Supreme constitutional occupation. So, as I mentioned, the gopis are trying to serve Srimati Radhika in that state. They're fanning her. They're pouring water on her because her body is burning in separation. They're placing flowers around her to cool her. So that mood of service, Radha Dasyam, is the mood that all of our Rupanuga acharyas are desiring to attain. Now Uddhava had his function in coming to Braj. Of course, he's not a Badhajiva, but he demonstrated the supreme position of the gopis when he came to Braj, because he had the realization by associating with them. So he glorified how high the gopis are. But our approach is different. Our approach is that in our deepest humility, we are attempting to follow the mood of the gopis, to be in the anugatya of the gopis. And the function, the service function that we have in that mood within this world, in our bhajan life, must culminate ultimately in that. Not only that we're thinking about the joyful pastimes of Krishna meeting with the gopis, but also the separation mood. And that will increase and increase. And that will nourish our praying. So it is a matter of sadhana, because rag anuga means to follow the mood, the rag of those associates. So when we're in that mood, we'll be discussing that in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu that we're reading. Because there are different types of raga anuga sadhana, which nourish the mood that we're trying to attain. You see? So that mood means in one of the rasas, Sakya-ras, Vatsalya-ras, Madhurya-ras. And in raga anuga sadhana bhakti there is a very clear indication in the heart that I want to serve Krishna in this way. And eventually, as one progresses in raga anuga sadhana bhakti, then one will choose, as is very clearly described, one will choose a particular associate of the Lord that one hearts becomes attracted to, and serve, internally serving that personality. You see. So in this way, these various songs that we're singing are composed by the acharyas to stimulate that Braj Ras, those moods of Braj. And I know that, when we were young and we were hearing Srila Prabhupada, every time before he would lecture, he would chant this very short song, also composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. He would chant that, and we could observe from the outside how amazing he was intensely absorbed. And when you would sit in his presence, and his whole body and his head would be like shaking in ecstasy. And what was his internal mood? You see? He was very deeply absorbed in separation mood in Braj. Separation mood. And also meeting. It was all there, internally. So at that time we could not understand, but more and more we can understand that Srila Prabhupada was on the highest level of Rupanuga Bhakti. And that he had his internal moods which he could not show externally to the public, because he was always lecturing in public. Those kind of moods can never be revealed. They must be kept secretly. They can only be shared and revealed to those who can comprehend those moods. So all those songs, they're very beneficial for us. When we do our bhajan also, we can remember the different names of Krishna. Gurudev said, when you're chanting Harinam, and you think about Krishna, his pastimes, sometimes you can call out his different names. Hey Radha Kanta, hey Gopi Paranadana, like this. So I'm reading some of the continuation where we left off. Further discussion on Raga Nuga Bhakti. This is on verse 10. Verse 10. We won't go very long. So, here, there's the Sanskrit is given. In Srila Gurudev's commentary, the actual Sanskrit is given. So those who know a little bit of Sanskrit, you can kind of go back and you can make out how the translation of it is quite accurate. So Gurudev's commentary on this, it is called Sri Bindu Vikashani Vritti. It's revealing the mood of the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So in Raganuga Bhakti, referred to above, the predominant anga is Smaran. Smaran means remembrance. Okay. So we know that there are 9 limbs of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Those are the first 3. And Shravanam means hearing. Kirtanam means chanting. Smaranam means remembering. So in Raganuga Bhakti, the predominant anga, is Smaran. Remembrance. Smaran should be related to Krishna and his beloved associates. Both Krishna and his beloved associates, who are distinguished by 3 things. Pastimes, Leela, that means pastimes. Next one is called emotional rapture. That's called Avesh. Emotional rapture. And their natures, Swabhav. So these 3 things, pastimes, Leela, emotional rapture, Avesh, and natures, Swabhav. So Smaran should be related to Krishna and his beloved associates who are distinguished by these 3 things that are appropriate for one's own internal spiritual mood. So, in the cultivation of Raganuga Bhakti, now we're discussing this, although we're not there, but we're trying to understand what it is. Okay? So that's why we have these literatures, to understand what it is and how it will nourish us. Yeah? So the other limbs of bhakti, because there's actually 64 limbs of bhakti, 9 prominent, such as kirtan, other limbs of bhakti, such as kirtan, and so on, they should also be related to Krishna and to his dear ones who are characterized by pastimes, emotional rapture, and the natures befitting one's own internal spiritual mood. So, both by smaran, remembrance, and also by other limbs of bhakti, kirtan, they should be related to these 3, lila, avesh, and swabhav, the natures. So when you hear, just like this evening, we're speaking some of these topics about Krishna and his relationship with the Brijabasis. So as one approaches the level of attaining lobha, attaining greed, intense greed, longing, which enables one to come into the path of raga, nuga, sadhana, bhakti, then when that occurs, then it will be necessary that our practice of bhakti, of the different limbs of bhakti, will be related in that way to those 3 aspects of both Krishna and Krishna's devotees. That is rag anuga. So it will be appropriate to one's own, it will be befitting one's own internal spiritual mood. So right now, in the stage of Vaidhi Bhakti, we are not aware what is our own internal spiritual mood. And there will also be some comment on someone trying to imitate a mood which they have not yet attained. That is illegal in the pathway of raga, nuga, sadhana, bhakti. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that in the process of archana, archana means worshipping the deity of the Lord. Okay? And there are many different procedures, just like when we do our artik here in the evening and we're offering incense and flowers, we're decorating, we're cooking for the Lord. There are many, many different activities related to archana. Okay? So in the process of archan, one is recommended to employ, in the general process of archan, one is recommended to employ mudras. Okay? Mudras are what? Entwining one's fingers in particular ways. Mudras. In the Vedic system, it's very interesting because there's many, many different mudras that have different meanings. And you know, just for information, when they had the Olympics in India recently, was it Olympics or they had some games there? And India was, especially Delhi, they were getting all tried to prepare and they built the new airport and they're trying to impress the world. You see, now we Indians, we have come up to these standards, And actually they put billboards behind some of the slum areas and like this, just trying to hide it. But in the airport when you came in, I was kind of astonished because they had some architects and artists who designed the interior. And when you're waiting at the immigration to show your passport and to enter the country, you're waiting in the lines, they have these huge, like probably 6 or 7 feet wide and in diameter, of just a hand, right, sticking out of the wall with different mudras. Mudras, like this. There's like about 10 of them up on the wall. So these are called mudras. Mudras have potency in particular ways, also combined with mantras. And these are also from previous yugas. Those who are enlightened personalities, they are known by the jnana mudra, which is this. And there's variations of this. But when they speak tattva, truth, they may raise their hand in this mudra. And this display. And then there's also very special mudra that we like very much because Srimati Radharani shows this mudra. What is that? Just means Ashirvad, blessing, blessing. The rays of mercy are coming upon you, blessing. So our beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, he used this mudra very much. Anyone that was with him would see in big gatherings, devotees, people coming to Gurudev, very often he would be like this, sometimes like this, or like this, so many times, giving his blessings, 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 unlimited blessings. We would see him walking from his dais, wherever he would lecture, and a long line of devotees, hundreds of devotees waiting, making a pathway for him to walk. You can see this so much on videos, and how Gurudev would move very slowly, and always seeing a different person, giving them the blessings, blessings, like this. Smaranam has one favorite little pastime that she tells. She noticed one time that, various devotees would also touch Gurudev's feet and try to attain the mercy of his lotus feet, the dust of his lotus feet, as he would walk. And there was one very old man who was in the audience, and he was trying to move forward to get there so that when Gurudev comes by, but he was so old that he was not able to really bow down. And Shamrani said, Gurudev was so merciful, he raised his foot like this so the person could... You see? So in this way, the mudras, now it's going to talk about mudras here, but it's going to explain that there are particular mudras that are not favorable for Raganuga Bhakti because they will disturb the mood, the bhav, okay? So this, now we're entering into an area of very specific description. What is Raganuga Bhakti? How do you do it? What are the sadhana? What things are favorable? What things are not favorable for it? It does have a difference between Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. It does have a difference. So, the mudras, he's saying here, in the process of archan, one is recommended to employ mudras, particular positions of intertwining the fingers. And then another thing is called nyas. Nyas. It means consigning the pranas, or the 5 life airs, to the mind, or mental assignment of various parts of the body to different deities. So in South India, they do this a lot. Various different deities, and by mantras, they meditate and they touch different parts of the body and they assign to the different deities like this. So this is in Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi. But in Raganuga Bhakti, we will hear, this is not recommended. So here he's explaining, and there's one more item mentioned here, meditation on Dwarka. The worship of the queens of Dwarka, and so on. Now, okay, we have a story to tell about Rukmini Dwarkadish and the saga of Srila Gurudev trying to, politely and not obtrusively, to just try to explain to the devotees that we don't worship Rukmini Dwarkadish. Yes, of course, they're manifestations of Radha and Krishna, but in our pathway of Raganuga Bhakti, it is not favorable to worship them. Right? Not favorable. Why? Because you may have to go there, and that's not where you want to go. Where do you want to go? There's only one destination, the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna in Braj. Right? But that is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Rupa Goswami, they're directly telling here that in the pathway of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, this is not favorable. Okay? He says, although these limbs of bhakti are prescribed in the Agama Shastras, they are not to be followed in Raga Nuga Bhakti because they are unfavorable to one's particular spiritual mood. That is called bhav pratikul. Your bhav, your mood that you're trying to develop. They're pratikul. They're unfavorable. Okay? So,
even in Vaidhi Bhakti, it's not recommended for us to do all these rules, right?
no, well, what is us? See, we're not South Indian Brahmins.
Narayana
We're coming in the
Kavacha
line
and all
of...
that.
Huh?
The Narayana Kavacha and all that, you have to do nyas.
Yes.
Before you chant and sing all the kavachas, you have to do nyas. So
Right.
in Vaidhi Bhakti, you do those things.
Yes, but see, there's Vaidhi Bhakti in the mood of Aishwarya, as done in South India, in the worship of Lakshmi Narayan. But in our line, this is what we have to understand. The Vaidhi Bhakti that we are trying to approach, because we all have to do Vaidhi Bhakti. You can't artificially, that's going to be explained. You cannot artificially give up Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. If you do, you'll completely not reach the goal. You have to perform with the sadhak deha, with the body that you now have, you have to perform the processes of bhakti in Vaidhi. But is specifying here that these particular ones you don't follow, because they will obstruct your progress towards your goal of Braj Bhakti. So Gurudev, because the young disciples of Srila Prabhupada in the beginning of the movement in Los Angeles, okay, Prabhupada was actually very encouraging to whatever moods that they would have, which are worshipping Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because that's what first has to be understood, right? Who is Krishna? Who is Krishna? Who is this person, Krishna? We were just watching a video yesterday, while we were taking prasadam, of Srila Prabhupada in like 1970, 69. And there's a young, hippie-ish looking young man that's interviewing him and asking him, who is Krishna? And so amazing. We should watch that sometime in our class. How Prabhupada explains so nicely. And then he asks him different questions, Can anyone from any background, can a Christian, can a Muslim, can they worship, can they become Krishna conscious like this? So in this way, Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning of the movement, he would encourage the devotees in their particular, moods. So they wanted to name the deities in that community because it was an opulent community. It was the biggest one. And so they had read all the pastimes of Krishna in Dwarka, and so they thought, okay, this will become Dwarka, New Dwarka, right? New Dwarka, because Prabhupada named different temples after the original New Vrindavana, New Dwarka, New Jagannath Puri, like that. Just like they have New York, right? Right? So like that, the mood of worshipping Radha and Krishna, now they began to worship them, Radha and Krishna, as Rukmini Dwarkadish. But Srila Gurudev, he said, no. This is not possible that Swamiji would tell you to worship Rukmini Dwarkadish. And then there was this whole controversy. Some of them, devotees in ISKCON, they're trying to prove that Gurudev is wrong. That Prabhupada also called them Rukmini Dwarkadish. Yeah, after you all wanted it to be Rukmini Dwarkadish, but he didn't originally name them Rukmini Dwarkadish. He did not name them Rukmini Dwarkadish.
But he didn't correct them either. He didn't tell them to stop doing that.
No, that's why I'm saying that Srila Prabhupada encouraged in their stage, that they could recognize Krishna, he's the Supreme Lord. So we see that also that in London, for example, and in Paris, Srila Prabhupada named the deities Radha, London Ishwar, Radha, Paris Ishwar. And he would say, Krishna has come to Paris to seek out the most beautiful girl in Paris. Because French girls are known to be very beautiful in the world. So Krishna's come to seek out, find the most beautiful one. So, in that way, Krishna becomes our hometown boy. Prabhupada was encouraging what is called mamata. You know that word? Mamata? Mamata is a very important word in our vocabulary. Now tonight you'll learn the meaning. Mama-ta. Mama means mine. You are mine. Mama. You belong to me. Like a parent has this mama-ta, this sense of my-ness, possessiveness. You belong to me. You are mine. That's love. There is no such thing as love without mamata. Understand? Mamata has to be there. And the more intense that the mamata is, the more deep the loving affection is. No one has more mamata than Srimati Radhika. No one. Her mamata is beyond, there's no boundary. She's completely one with Krishna in her love, loving affection to Krishna. So Prabhupada was encouraging that yes, you should think that Krishna has come to London and he is the master of London, Londonishwar, and Srimati Radhika is there, So Prabhupada would encourage, he would give some outlet for the devotees on that level, okay? But in the case of Dwarkadish, he didn't name them Rukmini Dwarkadish, but he also didn't obstruct because he didn't want to disturb their mood that they're worshipping. Okay. Gradually they'll find out. Gradually they'll understand. So when Gurudev came, he was trying to now give the next installment that, see here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Rupa Goswami, they're telling, I'm not telling, they're telling that you don't worship Krishna in Dwarka. You see? Gurudev would come, in Mathura there's a temple called Dwarkadish temple. And Gurudev, in the Parikrama, Vraj Mandala Parikrama book, Srila Gurudev went to that temple, okay, with all the devotees. And the deity's curtains were closed. So Gurudev called out, "Oh Krishna, we know that you're hiding there in Dwarka, but you don't belong there. You're not supposed to be there. We've come to inform you, Srimati Radhika is dying in separation, now come back." Like this, very personal. So like that,
one thing that's interesting that has sort of slipped by everybody, in Los Angeles where I spent all 16, 17 years there serving, so when I joined it was the Radha Krishna temple. And the deities were
what year
Radha
was
Krishna.
that?
I joined in 76 and that...
Right, the sign
was
said
still out
Radha
there.
Krishna temple.
Right.
Yeah.
But if Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini is not even Radharani. She's an expansion
Satyabhama.
of Chandravali.
Oh yes, sorry,
Yes.
Chandravali. Right.
Yes. So that's so Chandravali is Rukmini. It's completely. We're definitely not in that camp. Yeah. Of course, Chandravali.
Oh yeah. You see, the thing is this. All of these personalities in Braj, all of them, they're so far beyond worshipable to us. Okay? So even though Chandravali is in the opposite camp, okay, supremely worshipable.
Sure.
She's also the sister of Radharani, but doesn't know it. There's a whole pastime, how they appeared in Braj. Putana and the babies stealing and all of this. There's a whole pastime. So, but, so Srimati Radhika, when Krishna goes to Dwarka, her separation mood and the separation mood of the Astasakis is so great that they actually expand themselves and they become the queens of Dwarka. But in Braj, when someone wants to enter actual Braj Leela, then the mood has to follow the mood of our Rupanuga acharyas, demonstrated by them, such as Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. That, Srimati Radhika, we want to come into her gana, into her group. So anyone in her group, they have the mood of opposition to the other group, of Chandravali. And this competition nourishes Krishna's pastimes more and more and more. But yet, if someone is in Radhika's group, there will always be this competition mood. And there will be many, many secret affairs going on. When Krishna wanders over and becomes snatched by Chandravali and is in her kunja, then the Brajagopis of Srimati Radhika's camp and the Manjaris, they will devise many, many different methods and secret different pastimes to lure Krishna out again. And this is the excitement of Braj Leela. There's unlimited, infinite pastimes.
Sounds like high school.
Like what?
High school. You
Why?
say the perverted reflection.
Yeah, perverted reflection.
All these things.
The words rivalry
Yeah.
and competition, Prabhupada said there's competition in the spiritual world. To
Yes.
do,
Yes.
I mean, they have that
to please Krishna.
to please Krishna. They're
That's
competing.
right.
Oh, you've done so nicely, now I
That's
can
right.
do better.
Yes. And even though they have this,
They're inspiring each other.
yeah, they have this intensive mood toward one another, that it's almost like anger, against them. But it's in prem. It's in the realm of prem. Everyone there is absorbed in Krishna prem. So it's very beautiful. It doesn't have the same side effects that competition in the material world
Right.
does, which is full of envy.
Right.
There, they have the greatest love and respect for all, but because of their mamata, their mood of myness, they compete. Who is going to have Krishna? Who is going to have Krishna? And this enhances Krishna's pastimes,
Right.
in so many ways. So many.
May I ask a question? I've also heard that in Dwarka, Krishna doesn't play flute.
That's
And
right.
So that's what brought, I myself, when I go to Los Angeles, and
Yes.
I don't say, I've changed, I say Jaya Radha Krishna. I don't say Jaya Rukmini Dwarkadish.
Radha Govinda.
Yeah, right. But it was explained to me that Krishna in his Dwarka Leela, he's not playing flute. He only plays flute in his...
There are 3 features. They are not coming out of Braj.
Right.
Krishna's flute,
His rasa.
Krishna's peacock feather, and Krishna's pitambara, his yellow cloth. Those stay in Braj. Those are his symbols of his loving pastimes with the Brajagopis and Srimati Radhika. So now Krishna in Dwarka is dressed like king. Okay? And he doesn't have a peacock feather there, although different artists have sometimes depicted like that, but that's not there. It's not there in Krishna's Dwarka Leela. And not only that, but in his Dwarka Leela, he does show 4 arms, as Vasudev Krishna. Sometimes he shows 4 arms and sometimes 2 arms. So like that, it's mixed with Aishwarya, very much so. And the Aishwarya will weaken the mood of Brajbhav. And that's why they're telling directly here, the greatest authorities in our whole Sampradaya, Rupa Goswami is telling, don't perform these in the path of Rag Anuga Bhakti. So thus, on the path of Bhakti, although there may be some diminution or relinquishment of certain angas, no detrimental effect will ensue. Okay, so they're pointed out, well, these, even though you diminish them, you reduce them, but it will not have any detrimental effect on your bhakti in the path of Raganuga. In regard to this topic, Bhagavan Sri Krishna has said to Uddhava in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, Na hyango pakrame dvamsho maddharmas yoda bhavyapi maya vyavasita samyan nirgunatvad anashisha. So Krishna says to Uddhava, O Uddhava, once the practice of bhakti dharma consisting of shravan and kirtan related to me, once this has begun, no harm whatsoever can be done to the root of bhakti, even though there may be diminution of certain angas, certain limbs of bhakti. This is because Bhakti Dharma is beyond the jurisdiction of the material modes of nature. There is no possibility of its being destroyed by any means, because I have ensured this Dharma in this way for my unalloyed devotees. Now this is Krishna directly telling. I have made it this way. This Dharma is imperishable. It is beyond the jurisdiction of the modes of nature. So it can never be destroyed, because I have ensured that for my unalloyed devotees it will be like this. So on the path of bhakti, no harm is done either by non-performance of the assortment of activities appropriate for varnashram, or by diminution of certain limbs of bhakti. Neither of these can do any harm to bhakti. This is fine, but there is certainly great harm if there is diminution of any of the principal limbs of bhakti, such as taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, or shravan, kirtan, and so on. So, point is that, yes, there are a few that can be diminished and it will not harm your bhakti, but there will be great harm if you diminish those chief limbs of bhakti, shravan, kirtan, surrendering to spiritual master like this. Therefore, one should take great care that there be no decline in any of the spiritual limbs of bhakti. This is declared in the Agama Shastras as quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and then he tells the famous verse, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpataye Vakalpate. I'm just finishing now. Although one is engaged, the meaning of this verse is that although one is engaged in single-minded devotion, that means Aikantiki Bhakti. Aikantiki means one-pointed. Eka Antiki. So, although one is engaged in single-minded devotion to Lord Hari, but if one transgresses the regulations mentioned in the Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, Narada Pancharatra, these various authoritative Vedic scriptures, then great misgivings, anarthas, are produced from that. So there's a warning here, okay? And the warning is that you can think that you're doing single-minded, one-pointed devotion to Hari. You're doing Hari Bhakti in this way. But if you're not following the actual prescriptions given in the authoritative Vedic literatures, and you're making up your own process, and you're deviating in that way, then what happens? Utpataye vikalpate. Great misgivings are produced, and anarthas are produced. And then finally, there is one more point to be considered. A devotee who has an intense desire within his heart to obtain the spiritual mood of the Brajbasis, and who executes all the limbs of bhakti in accordance with the Vidhi Marga, the pathway of Vaidhi Bhakti, okay? So he has the intense desire in the heart to follow the spiritual mood of the Brajbasis, and he's executing all the limbs of bhakti in accordance with the Vidhi Marg, then he obtains fidelity only to Rukmini and the other principal queens of Dwarka. In other words, he attains to the position of the queens of Dwarka. Very directly stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So what does this mean? Gurudev gives a nice explanation. We'll read it in the next class because now time is gone. But this basically means that the bhakti that can give entrance into Braj Leela is only one type. It cannot be mixed with the Vidhi Marg. Although one is practicing externally the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti of hearing, chanting, and so forth, but as we heard already, the chief limb of Raganuga bhakti is Smaranam. So your remembrance of Krishna and your meditation upon Krishna, it will be different than in the Vaidhi sadhana pathway. It will be different. So that is to be very carefully considered, Gurudev is expressing here. very carefully. So like this, we had a brief discussion about the pathway of Raga Nuga Bhakti, and on our next class we'll hear some very amazing explanations of Srila Gurudev that clarify everything concerning the pathway, how to practice, and also for those who are doing an imagined practice, okay? Imaginary, trying to imagine that they have such and such greed, but in actuality they don't, then harm will be done to their bhakti. Harm will be done. So that warning is always there. We should carefully understand that, because we see that it continues to go on, that devotees fall into this trap of thinking that if I go to Radhakund and I get Siddha Pranali, Gurudev is specifically going to talk about that, and I get all the description of my spiritual body, and then I can meditate that I'm a gopi and all of this. But if one does that without actual lobha, then your bhakti will be destroyed by that. So one has to very carefully proceed according to the authorized sadhu, guru and shastra, and then one can be successful. Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu ki Jai, Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Pada ki Jai, Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaja ki Jai, Sri Desi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai, Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Pancha Kalpataruveshcha Kripa So we have Arti.